AITA for refusing to help my mom after she let my stepdad kick me out at 16. I never thought I'd be that person asking if I'm the jerk, but here I am. My family situation is complicated and I could use some outside perspective. My dad died when I was 10. It was sudden, a car accident, and it destroyed my mom. For 2 years, she was barely functioning. I basically raised myself during that time, making my own meals, doing my own laundry, even making sure bills got paid by leaving them on the counter with notes. I don't blame her for that period. Grief does terrible things to people. When I was 12, she started dating again. By 13, she'd met Robert. By 14, they were married. Robert had no children of his own and made it clear from day one that he wasn't interested in being a father figure. He tolerated me at best, ignored me at worst. Things were tense but manageable until I turned 16. That's when everything fell apart. Robert had these strict rules that seemed designed specifically to make my life difficult. My curfew was 8 p.m. on weekends. I wasn't allowed to have friends over. I had to ask permission to use the Wi-Fi. My mom, who had once been my biggest offender, started backing him up on everything. "He just wants what's best for you," she'd say. "He's trying to keep you safe." But it didn't feel like safety, it felt like control. The breaking point came after my school's winter formal dance. I had asked my mom weeks in advance if I could go. She said yes. Robert wasn't home when we had this conversation. I bought a secondhand dress, made plans with friends, and was genuinely excited for one normal teenage experience. The night of the dance, I was getting ready when Robert came home. He saw me in my dress and immediately demanded to know where I thought I was going. "The winter formal," I said. "Mom said I could go." He turned to my mom, who suddenly looked very small. "Did you authorize this?" "I thought it would be okay," she said quietly, "just this once." "Absolutely not," he said. "No daughter of mine is going to a dance where there's drinking and drugs and who knows what else." "I'm not your daughter," I said before I could stop myself. The look on his face was terrifying. He turned to my mom and said, "Either she stays home or I'm done. Your choice." And my mom, the woman who had tucked me in every night until I was 10, who had taught me to ride a bike and bandaged my scraped knees, who had cried with me at my dad's funeral, looked me straight in the eye and said, "You need to respect Robert's rules in this house." Something inside me broke in that moment. I packed a bag while they watched, neither one trying to stop me, and walked out. I still remember my mom's face in the window as I left, not stopping me, not fighting for me, just watching me go. I spent that night at my best friend Zoe's house. Her parents were horrified when I told them what happened. They let me stay for a week while we tried to figure things out. My mom called once during that time, not to ask me to come home, but to tell me that she and Robert had agreed I could come back if I followed the rules and showed proper respect. I told her I'd rather sleep under a bridge. Zoe's parents helped me get emancipated. They knew a lawyer who took my case pro bono. The judge granted it when he heard my story and saw that my mom didn't even bother to show up to the hearing. I finished high school while working part-time jobs. I crashed on couches, rented rooms, did whatever I had to do to survive. It was hard, harder than anything I'd ever done, but I made it work. I got a scholarship to community college, transferred to a state university, and eventually landed a good job in IT. Throughout all of this, my mom's presence in my life was minimal. She'd send the occasional text on my birthday or Christmas. Once, she invited me to Thanksgiving dinner. I declined. Robert was still in the picture, and I had no interest in pretending to be a happy family. Fast forward to now. I'm 26, financially stable, with my own apartment, a decent savings account, and a life I built entirely on my own. Last month, out of the blue, I got a call from my mom. She was sobbing so hard I could barely understand her. "Robert left me," she managed to say between sobs. "He emptied our accounts. The house is being foreclosed on. I have nowhere to go." I sat there in silence, trying to process what she was telling me. After everything, she was calling me for help. "I know we haven't been close," she continued when I didn't respond. "But you're all I have left. I need you." "What exactly are you asking for?" I said finally. "I need a place to stay until I can get back on my feet. Maybe a loan to help with the immediate bills, just until I figure things out." My mind flashed back to that night 10 years ago, standing in my dress, bag in hand, watching her choose a man over her own child. I thought about all the nights I'd gone to bed hungry because I couldn't afford both food and rent. The times I'd cried myself to sleep wondering why I wasn't worth fighting for. "No," I said simply. "What?" She sounded genuinely shocked. I said, "No, I can't help you." "But I'm your mother." "You stopped being my mother the night you let him kick me out." She started crying harder. "I made a mistake. I know that now. I was wrong, and I've regretted it every day since." "It's been 10 years, I said. 10 years where you could have apologized, could have tried to make things right. You wait until you need something to suddenly remember you have a daughter?" "That's not fair," she protested. "I was scared of losing him. And I was 16 and homeless. Which do you think was worse?" The conversation ended with her calling me heartless. I hung up feeling shaky but certain I'd made the right choice. Then the calls started coming in. My aunt, my grandparents, even distant cousins I barely know, all telling me I need to help my mom because she's family and she made a mistake. My aunt sent me a particularly nasty text. "After everything your mother sacrificed for you, this is how you repay her, by leaving her on the street when she needs you? Your father would be ashamed." That one hit hard. My dad was the most compassionate person I knew. Would he think I'm wrong for refusing to help? My grandparents offered a compromise. They'd take my mom in, but they're on a fixed income and can't help financially. They suggested I could at least provide some money to help her get back on her feet. Part of me feels guilty. She is my mother and she is in a desperate situation. But another part of me, the part that remembers what it felt like to be 16 and unwanted, says I owe her nothing. I've worked so hard for everything I have. The idea of giving money to the woman who threw me away when I needed her most makes me feel physically ill, but I also wonder if I'm letting bitterness cloud my judgment. What keeps playing in my mind is something Zoe's mom said to me years ago. Forgiveness isn't about the other person deserving it. It's about freeing yourself from the burden of anger. Maybe there's a middle ground. I could help her find resources, shelters, job placement services, public assistance, without directly giving her money or letting her move in with me. Or maybe I'm overthinking this and my instinct to say no is the right one. She made her choice 10 years ago. Now, I'm making mine. So, internet strangers, AITA for refusing to help my mom after she let my stepdad kick me out at 16. Education. I'm overwhelmed by all the responses. Reading through your comments has been emotional but clarifying. Last night I called my mom. I told her I won't be giving her money or letting her move in, but I did email her information about local shelters, job placement services, and financial assistance programs. I also included the contact information for a therapist who offers sliding scale fees. I explained that while I'm not ready or willing to be her safety net, I don't want her to suffer. I told her that if she's serious about rebuilding our relationship, it needs to start with her taking responsibility for her actions and getting help, both practical and emotional.